Trade rumors are once again escalating for the Toronto Raptors as Bruce Brown, who hasn't played a single game for the Raptors this season, there's been some buzz generating that he's played his last game as a Toronto Raptor. So we'll discuss that, including Fred VanVleet talking about Toronto, having some interesting thoughts, as well as one Toronto Raptor having officially started his breakout for this Toronto Raptors team by all measures, by all accounts. So we'll dive into all of that in this video. But before we dive into that, folks, I want to wish everyone out there a very Merry Christmas. Hope everyone's doing well out here over the holiday season with your fam, enjoying a little bit of time off, kicking it back, and just hope everyone's doing well heading into the new year. So starting off the video with that, and also had some time, not really a break over Christmas season, but had some time to change up the studio, finally get to, changing things up heading into the new year. So let me know what you guys think about the new Raptors Digest studio that we got set up here for these vids. But we always got some news to cover, even on this Christmas day. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. As Fred VanVleet spoke out on Toronto, had a very interesting, nice quote. We're starting it off with a warm and fuzzy feeling. I know Fred VanVleet, after leaving the Toronto Raptors, there were a lot of hearts not super tight. Fred VanVleet wasn't close to a lot of Toronto Raptors fans the way he was during that championship run. Him being the lead guy for this Raptors squad, it didn't really work out. But regardless of how things ended, Fred VanVleet's always been, favorite of mine, just given how well he performed during the Toronto Raptors, during the most crucial season, during the biggest season in Toronto Raptors history. And, he had this nice quote to say that this is a special place for basketball. He ended up posting a nice heart, an infinity out there on his Instagram story. So, Christmas Day, regardless, if you are felt a little bit spiteful of Fred VanVleet, leave a nice comment for Frederico down in the comment section down below. We're spreading Christmas cheer. We're spreading some joy out here in this video because Fred, he's having a really good season. He's doing really well for the Houston Rockets. That team's been very, very solid. I mean, the Raptors faced off against them recently. Fred didn't have the greatest of game. His numbers are down pretty solidly, but still 15 points per game, 4.4 rebounds, 6 assists. But they are the third seed in the Western Conference as of now, as of recording. So Fred VanVleet, I'm happy he's doing well. I'm happy he still has a nice spot for the Toronto Raptors, despite the fact things didn't end, super, super well for him, for the team, and just how it goes. But I don't know. Shout out to Fred VanVleet. Always have a soft spot out there in the hearts of all Raptors fans. So watch that 2019 run. But let's dive into the next topic discussion as he's officially breaking out. Now, I didn't get a chance to cover the Raptors Knicks game, as I kind of mentioned. Stuff going on out here over the holiday season for me, but be able to jump on it here now. The Raptors got smoked by the New York Knicks. That's just the reality of it. I'm not going to be here recapping this game because who cares about a brutal loss against the New York Knicks that occurred a couple days ago, but there is an interesting storyline that has developed, that has evolved from this situation because, again, the Raptors right now, they've been taking L's. They've been taking a lot of L's as of late. The losing streak is up to 8. The team is, bottom 3 out there in the entire league. The capture the flag, the movement, it is happening right now. Like, we'll play the long capture the flag here now at this point. The Raptors are positioning themselves in a great spot to really capture Cooper Flag or Ace Bailey or whoever the heck you're looking for, this upcoming NBA draft. But against the Knicks, most of these games have been fairly positive in terms of how the Raptors have been playing, but against the Knicks, it was a pretty ugly loss. The first quarter was pretty close, but, second and third, things fell apart. They made a little push at the end, but Scottie Barnes had a solid game after looking a little bit shaky, returning from injury, over a couple. RJ Barrett, who I got his jersey hung up behind me here now, right? He's been phenomenal for the Toronto Raptors this season. 23 points, 7 to 13 shooting, more efficient than Scottie in that game, but 6 assists, 6 rebounds. The two top guys for the Toronto Raptors played well, which is the huge positive. But the one guy that is officially, I'm claiming it, I'm declaring it, the breakout for the Toronto Raptors is Jakob Poeltl, who is someone that we've discussed out here a bunch, saying, hey, Jacoby's a guy that was getting the right shots, was getting the right looks, just wasn't super efficient to start off the season, but the fluidity, the confidence, the poise he had out there on the offensive end, it felt like he was going to be in a really good spot for this Toronto Raptors squad, the way things were playing out. But now those shots are going down with 4 or 5 from the field. Got to the free throw line in ton against the New York Knicks. Had 16 points, 4 fouls, it is what it is, but a couple of blocks. But really on the scoring, the offensive end, he's made his way to the rookie ladder. And the Raptors just continue to show and continue to prove that, what they did in the NBA draft was an absolute heist, right? Jamal Shead ended up being injured, but as everyone knows out here that's been tuning in the vids this season, I've been a big Shead head over the course of this season. Matty D had an interesting quote out there, mixing up the name, and if you didn't see that quote, definitely check it out. But Jameson Battle, Jonathan Mobo, all these guys, right? They've been very, very just proving Masai right, that he has regardless of what you want to say about him in terms of decision making, holding on to guys too long, whatever the heck it is, no one can question him as a scout. In the NBA draft, when he has draft picks, he's not 100% hit rate, but he's as close as you can get to that mark in terms of an NBA GM. So that's great to see. But overall, Ochai Agbaji didn't have a great game. Gradey Dick, solid, just average game for Gradey Dick over the course of the season. I mean, AJ Lawson came in garbage time, knocked down a 3. That's a good thing to see. Chris Boucher had a solid one off the bench for this squad. But of course, this team, we're pushing to capture some flags. We're not in a position to really take a ton of W's this year, but happy to see Scottie Barnes specifically bounce back, have a nice bounce back performance, which is a good sort of to put into the future for this team, because Scottie Barnes not performing well this year. We are in a rough spot for the future. So never had a doubt, never had a worry. Was worried maybe he came back from injury a little bit too fast, but it's nice to see Scottie return and have some good stuff. But let's dive into the final topic and the big one that everyone's eyes are on over the next few weeks heading into the trade deadline season. But Toronto Raptors have some big decisions to make ahead of this year's trade deadline. They have a few vets on this roster that, of course, don't fit the timeline for the Toronto Raptors. They're expiring contracts, and frankly, they can net the Toronto Raptors some value back. And the reason why it's even more important for the Toronto Raptors than other teams, these Bruce Browns, these Chris Bouchers, these other kind of contracts, is because if Masai Ujiri can get some extra second-round picks, if he can get a late first, if he can get one of these types of assets, I mean, look at what he did with the draft haul, in one of the, quote, worst NBA drafts in recent memory. Masai Ujiri's found 4 guys that look like, at minimum, solid rotation players in the NBA. So, of course, if you can get extra draft picks, extra draft slots for guys that might just walk for anything, then you should sort of make something happen. And, of course, Chris Boucher, Bruce Brown all have value. If they're healthy, if they're playing, they could be impactful for the team. But all eyes are specifically pointed to Bruce Brown, who hasn't played a game yet this year, but has been questionable day-to-day for the past 3 weeks. It's felt like he's returned to practice, fully, full 5-on-5 contact, and the Raptors just haven't suited him up to play. And that's led to some buzz, some chatter going on about different stuff. And this is a tweet that's going around a ton of Toronto Raptors land, and it's not a proper insider. It's not a Shams or Woj when he was inside in, but it's a guy that has sparked some interesting discussion. So we'll bring it up, but of course it's not. I'm not pretending this is like some official report. But essentially, there's some discourse going on that, from Chris Davis, that there's some growing speculation within league circles that Bruce Brown may have already played his final game with the Toronto Raptors. The team has adopted a cautious approach regarding his recovery while actively pursuing trade opportunities to secure additional draft capital. So again, this is a path that just makes a ton of sense with the Toronto Raptors, even with Bruce Brown having some interesting quotes, having some interesting buzz. And Chris Davis essentially says, with his sources, whatever, the Sacramento Kings, Los Angeles Lakers are considered the front runners in negotiations, with the Denver Nuggets and San Antonio Spurs also reportedly expressing interest. Now, again, this is, if it's not Shams, a Windhorse, Chris Haynes, even though Chris Haynes gotten some stuff with the Toronto Raptors wrong in the past, I'm not holding these guys as guaranteed sort of trade suitors for the Toronto Raptors to immediately make some imminent trade. However, they do make a ton of sense in terms of fit. The Kings are in a desperate spot right now with agent Rich Paul trying to force the Kings to make a big move in order for De'Aaron Fox to maximize his prime career, or else he's going to demand a trade out there sometime soon. So the Kings are in a pretty desperate position. The Lakers, of course, still have LeBron, and they want to maximize his window, and Bruce Brown has proven that he can be a nice role player on a championship-winning team. The Denver Nuggets, of course, had Bruce Brown on a championship-winning team. He knows the core. He has a Denver Nuggets tattoo out there on his shoulder. I mean, it makes sense as to why they'd be interested in bringing Bruce Brown. And the San Antonio Spurs, again, saw them play earlier today on Christmas Day, a crazy game against the New York Knicks, but their timeline's getting pushed ahead a ton, and they've been rumored for some win now moves. I mean, De'Aaron Fox, who I just mentioned, they're interested in getting him, but if they do make a big swing and try to make a playoff push over the course of this year, Bruce Brown could be an interesting sort of flyer for them to pick up and to improve the team in the short term. So an interesting list in terms of squads. I mean, I think there's 10 plus suitors for Bruce Brown in the NBA. So, that's just a handful of names that could be an interesting destination, but it's interesting discussion in terms of whether or not the Raptors actually end up playing Bruce Brown ever again, out there in the Toronto Raptors uniform. Apparently he's healthy. Apparently he's ready to go. They're ramping him up, getting him healthy, getting him to do whatever. Maybe he either had a setback or Masai Ujiri, Darko Rajaković are playing some 4D chess in terms of not injuring a prize trade asset ahead of the deadline, or whatever the heck's going on. We'll see what ends up happening, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. You guys have the best night this far. Merry Christmas to every single one of you. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.